will change through eternity. 'Tis the world's winter. Autumn and summer are gone long ago. Earth is dry to the center, but spring, a newcomer, a spring rich and strange, shall make the winds blow, round and round, through and through, here and there, till the air and the ground shall be filled with life anew.
The first Waldorf school was opened in Stuttgart, Germany in 1919 at the request of an industrialist whose name was Emil Molt. He was the owner of the Waldorf Astoria cigarette factory, so that's where the name Waldorf came from, because that was the name of his factory. He asked Dr. Rudolf Steiner if Steiner would help to devise a school for the children of the workers in the cigarette factory. And it's very interesting that that is the beginning moment of the Waldorf school movement, that it would be a school for the children of factory workers. To this day, we have carried it as one of our guiding principles that we want the Waldorf schools to be schools for anyone who wants them.
Well, I've been at Mount Meadows since kindergarten, and there we wouldn't do very much except play and do circle and learn how to be friends together.
Jack Frost was in the garden. I saw him there at dawn. He was prancing round the bushes and dancing on the lawn. He had a cloak of silver, a cap all shimmering white, a wand of glistening stardust, and shoes of sunbeam light.
I call them together with a simple song, and I do it the same way every day, and that's very important because that's part of our rhythm. And every morning we begin in the same way, and so they know exactly what's going to happen next, and that makes them feel very safe and very comfortable. At the end of our circle, we will have a moment to come in and be a little quieter, and we'll have a candle and a simple verse that begins our day.
Guarded from harm, cared for by angels, here stand we, loving and strong, truthful and good.
I do many puppet plays in the kindergarten. And when I do, what I mean by puppet plays, I don't mean my hand going up through a cloth where they can't really see me manipulating it.
They came into their house and lit their 7 little candles, and they could see that things were not as they had been when they left. Someone has been sitting in my chair, said the first. Someone has been eating my vegetables. Someone has been eating my bread. Someone has been using my fork. Someone has been using my spoon.
My hands will hold the marionette. They can see the strings attached from my hand to them. So there's no tricking involved.
She knocked on the door. Good things to sell. Cheap, cheap, good things to sell. And Snow White went to the window and opened it. Good day, my good woman.
And one of my favorite times in the kindergarten is that time when you gather them all together and the room is very quiet and you begin a story, once upon a time.
Now hold on tight, said Mother Bird. That's what Annika would have heard if she were up close on that limb. Now hold tight, my baby birds, and stretch your wings and flap them like so, and make them go up and down. And you'll know when your wings are strong enough that Brother Wind will come and lift you up and up and up.
Fairy tales of themselves are a beautiful way to bring language to children. Our modern day language is very different than it used to be, and this is a way of expanding their way of thinking about the world and how very beautiful that can be.
Reached into her pocket, felt the warm, soft baby bird, put it back in the nest and said, there now, you are home again. And please don't try to fly until your mother says your wings are ready.
What I see is very different, qualitatively different in Waldorf education than other paths or other styles of education, is that it's how and when you bring things, how and when you bring certain main lesson blocks, how and when you bring activity. And in the kindergarten, to simplify it a bit, of course, we wanted to bring watercolor painting so that the children could have a really beautiful color experience. Not to teach painting per se, but that they could live into the colors and just, as I say it, watch the colors dance. We put on our aprons. Each child is ready for their little, we call it a flower and a vase, and they begin. We start with the basic 3 primary colors, yellow, red, and blue, and from those 3 colors, all colors can happen.
Pretty. I made orange. I know how to make yellow and red make yellow and red make orange.
And then once a week, we make bread. They grind the wheat, and through their own activity, they create a beautiful bun. And we also make a large bun, which we have with our soup on the next day.
Knead our bread. Knead your peppers. Knead our bread. This is the way we knead our bread. Oh, thank you. So early in the morning.
Hey, Ron, need I make
A piece of paper.
you a bit more? Hey, could you have a little? I didn't want to like it.
Let me have. Ooh, excuse me.
Rachel said, I didn't get a bite.
Miss Marshall, although I'm not a dancer, I had fun in your class. And knitting was even more fun, although my socks don't fit.
What you need to do, Mom, is take this to tighten that.
Look how far he's swollen. I know. Well, look how terrible this one is. The white pile's over here and the white pile's over there. No, the gray ones are over there. Hand tray. What color are you going to wear his jacket? He already. Oh, can I use them? Oh, yeah, because I was going to use them after Brandon.
Art is completely integrated into the Waldorf curriculum. Every aspect of the curriculum is artistic. And there's a difference between doing art projects and having the curriculum be artistic. And that's the goal of a Waldorf class, is to have everything musically, with drama, with the visual arts, to all that be integrated into the lesson, so that as a teacher, I don't give a lesson and then say, all right, now let's do an art project. What I do is give a lesson, and within that lesson I weave in various ways that I can use art.
This ball was once a glowing mass of mixed and superheated gas, which cooled to liquid shrank in girth, solidified and turned to earth. For several thousand endless ages, I muddled through its early stages of heat, eruptions, floods, and quakes, and other infant belly aches. Surviving all such pains and motions, it settled down to lands and oceans. In eras which are known as glacials, the planet then got several facials, 4 geological massages, and 4 successive ice barrages, which filled its unbecoming dimples and leveled off some rocky pimples. If sometimes there's a recrudescence, what that means. It's due.
The important thing for the science for us in the upper grades is that it never be given coldly, that it never be given science for science sake, but that the science, the accuracy that's involved with the children performing their experiments, writing up their data, if the experiment failed, why did it fail, go back and do it again. And why did it not fail? What made it actually happen? What made the light bulb light? Or what made the magnet touch this little piece of metal that made something else happen somewhere else? That accuracy combined with an appreciation for the human beings that laid the groundwork for that to appear in our daily lives, and the beauty, the artistry that when they tell the biography or enter it in the main lesson book, still a beautiful page, even though it's science.
And when I look back over 7, 8 years, I remember like all the laughter and fun we've always had together. I remember when we were in 4th grade, and it was Maybe our second or third field trip.
The large electric pumps.
That raft broke to pieces. Crash! The buildings on it fell into the sea, washed up onto the shore, onto the rocks, crashed to pieces. There went all the wonderful redwood that John Sutter was expecting. Well, John Bidwell was able to save the guns and the gunpowder which were in the ship, and the sawmill which were in the ship. These things he was able to take up the Sacramento River and on to Sutter's Fort.
To incorporate all the specialty classes that are taught after main lesson with the main lesson that was taught for that day, so that the painting lesson for that day is connected to the main lesson that was taught.
Remember, this is just an indication here. It is. I hope the wheels get round. Solomon, come to your seat, please, and get your map ready. Start with
Whale watching. Whale watching.
those strangers coming down.
Let me see. I can't pick it up. Yeah, we go down and then
Correct.
I like my dust.
Catch the ball. Give me the name of the another river.
Yuba. Trinity.
Ah, good.
The teachers, students, everybody here has taught me so much. And I'll start with the school, I guess, because she's taught me, well, just about everything, to read, to write.
What did Joseph do in the
Well,
story? Tell me what Joseph did.
I guess he walked.
Okay, where did he walk?
Walked
Joseph?
in the desert.
Walked across the desert, okay? And now you have to have a vowel in there. You're right that there's an R in there, but you need a vowel. Yes, good. And do you hear the last letter? Desert. T? Very good.
The teaching of reading and writing in the Waldorf School go hand in hand. It's impossible to separate them from one another, but it's also impossible to separate them from a larger subject, which includes drama and speech and art. For a young child needs all of those to learn. Reading the written word on the page is the end result that fewer and fewer children in our world today can accomplish without a strong base.
Okay, an example. Adam?
Goat.
Coat. That's the name of a thing. Why did you think of the word coat? Okay, in the story, is there something, the coat of many colors? That's an important element of the story. Zachary, you need to do a picture about your sentence, but he can be wearing his jacket.
Now in first grade, the children go in and they begin to write first. That's the way it happened in history. There wasn't a book, and then people learned to write from that book. First there was spoken language, then there was written language, and only from that people learned to read from their own writing. Handwriting is a forgotten art. It's a lost art, and in the Waldorf School we are trying to resurrect it because it's a very important art. And the child, before they begin to write anything, they learn what makes the letters, a straight and curved line. That's such an amazing discovery for a child, to look around at everything in the world and see it's all straight or curved or a combination. And so when they write their first letter, you see the concentration in the first grade child's face and their feeling of success and accomplishment when they have this beautiful letter on their paper. And from that in first grade, they go from letters to words to sentences to stories. But it's all from their curriculum. And so in second grade, it continues this language development. But what it does for the child in teaching it this way, it makes them secure in the process because the process makes sense. They've gone from the verbal to the written to the reading. And that's what we're really trying to do in the Waldorf School. We're trying to give them a curriculum that makes sense to them, so every step of the way they are naturally brought along, so that the end product of reading a book is also a very great feeling.
Well, this book was called A Wind in the Door. This is a girl, and she's in high school, and this is Charlie. And he is sick when the story begins. The doctor comes, and when she comes home from school, he says, "There's dragons in the garden." Now, she doesn't believe him, of course. So she goes out and looks, and there's no dragons. And then he says, "They must have moved to the north pasture."
Then he rose slowly to his feet and stole toward the gate. There he paused again, trembling before he reached out for the latch. Sheer phantoms. Gabu was not in sight.
Arianism. Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Correct.
Impressionism. Impressionism. Impressionism.
Correct.
Also, I'd like to thank Miss Herman for teaching me math. Well, not only her, but she presented math in a way which we could learn and made it easy, but she also taught us all the things we needed to know.
Well, math in the Waldorf school is as much fun for the teacher as it is for the student, because of course it's artistic all the way through from 1st grade to 8th grade, just the way all the subjects are. But math is filled with movement and rhythm.
12 quarter cups of oatmeal. But Frederick began to sneeze as he was pouring them, and half of them fell onto the floor. How many cups of oatmeal fell onto the floor? Oh, gee. 1.5 cups of oatmeal fell onto the floor, so he had to refill that. How many quarter cups did he need?
And from 1st grade already, you see these little children able to learn their times tables and really learn an understanding of what a number is because they're moving it. They're moving with their whole bodies.
7 each quickly done.
21 is 3 lots of 7. 7.
14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70, 77, 84, 84, 77, 70, 53, 70.
And right away in 1st grade, when we introduce the numbers, it's done in a way that expands the thinking. And so with that in mind, the children in 1st grade, when you ask them the number 1, instead of number 1 being the smallest number, which is what is usually thought, something 1 is small and insignificant, a number 1 can also be the largest number, 1 universe, 1 whole class, 1 earth.
Hand in hand, in one circle, here we stand.
Now, when you get to the upper grades, math can be quite abstract. Once you start with fractions, then you need a little abstract thinking ability. But again, for the upper grade children, math is movement. And when you see a 5th grade class standing with sticks and really connecting with each other, going through fractions, what's an equivalent fraction, it's so much more real to them than just sitting at their desks and writing it.
2 tenths, 0.5. 5 tenths, 0.10. 10 100ths, 0.190. 190 1,000ths, 0.1500. 1,500 10,000ths.
Good. Mr. Mattern, you were a good band instructor and made band fun. I'll strongly consider taking band next year. Mrs. Springer, you taught me to project and use good tone. Now all I need to do is get the right note.
Music in the Waldorf education is considered essential, critical, and is interwoven through all the grades. Most teachers, and I do, use it in the morning. Every morning we'll sing something that's relevant either to the subject matter that we're teaching or to set a tone of reverence and joy in the morning. Also to bring the class together, to create something beautiful. Music, of course, is also wonderful because it develops the will in the way that it demands repetition and practice. The development of will is a very central part of the Waldorf education, and music is an excellent way to teach that. In 5th grade, the band then is available, and the children can choose an instrument, choose to join the band. That is an elective.
Mr. DeSoto. He taught me volleyball, but he still can't serve very well. And
Now, at our school, the games program is very important. Especially in the junior high, the children really want to know the rules of things. They want to know how to serve a volleyball and know that everywhere else, everyone is learning just the same way that they are to serve a volleyball. They want to play baseball with the same rules as children really all over the world now. And so the sports program becomes a very important class for these children. In 5th grade, the children learn all the skills that the ancient Greeks used to compete in the Olympics. They learn to throw the javelin, the discus, they learn the long jump. They begin to compete in running. In 6th grade, the same thing happens, but more with a medieval flavor. The children learn to joust, and they learn to shoot an arrow very straight towards a target.
One of the most important things I think about our modern lifestyle is the effect that our lifestyle has on the ecology of this planet. And I find that, I found this both as a father and as an educator, that Waldorf-trained students have a sense of the environment and a sense of the wholeness and the oneness of the world.
They do get some actual ecology experience in the 8th grade, discussions around issues. Now it's very easy to find issues to discuss in that area, but just the appreciation for the soil, to see the compost going into the soil, the bed that maybe had less compost producing a plant that wasn't quite as beautiful or succulent as the other bed. Without even saying the word ecology, they've learned something about it right there. I always begin the gardening classes with a verse to foster that appreciation. What are we about to do? We're about to step into yet another glorious realm of our lives, the gardens. Everybody with your hands, nice deep roots. Roots, stem,
Stem.
leaf,
Leaf.
flower,
Flower.
fruit,
Fruit.
seed.
Seed. Roots.
Stem, leaf,
Flower. Fruit. Seed.
Can you put soil in a pot?
I could use
Okay.
Can we bring these home, Bud?
Yes, you can take it home.
Okay, now help me.
If they can appreciate the work of the sun and the rain and the good healthy soil and the plants, which ends up becoming food, then later there will be no question in their mind as to how to sustain healthy life.
We celebrate many festivals at our school all through the year. The curriculum is very connected to the seasons as our children, and we're also connected to all the history that the children learn throughout the grades. And we take the opportunity to celebrate as many of these festivals as we can during the year that really meet the children's need for a connection to the earth and to culture. And depending on the way you look at it, some people look at it and say it's a Christian celebration. Some people look at it and say it's a nature celebration. Some people look at it and say, oh, it's a harvest, it's an agricultural celebration. And really, everyone is right, because the festivals that we celebrate in a Waldorf school are very ancient, and they've been through all of those phases, depending on the phase of humanity. And the festivals have a deep meaning for humanity. And you can look at them really on many different levels depending on the religious background that you come from. What's important for the children is that we celebrate them. And what's important for the community is that we celebrate them. It's a way of coming together and recognizing a special day that was special throughout history for some reason. We begin the year with a festival called Michaelmas, which is a European festival that is not kind of popular in our culture, but was very important for medieval people, and even before that, for pre-Christian people. They had a seasonal festival at that time.
Well, we do not teach religion in a Waldorf school. What we do in the Waldorf school is try to help the children right from first grade through high school to establish a connection to the history of humanity. And of course, a major element in the development of mankind has been the question of who am I, where do I come from, am I a spiritual being, am I only a physical being, and so on. And so through the curriculum, we work with the children in a developmental way, leading through the fairy tales and through the stories of the saints and through the Bible stories in third grade, to an imagination of the changing consciousness toward the question, who am I and where did I come from?
And children learn about masters from many religious disciplines: Buddha, Zarathustra, Krishna, the God of the Hebrews. In sixth grade, the Christ with Roman history. But it's not to teach the religion, but how could we teach history without teaching the spiritual truths that those people believed in that affected the changes that took place in history?
There is a very central belief in Waldorf education that we are in fact spiritual beings, and oftentimes people confuse that with religion. We do not teach religion to the children, but the teachers themselves carry a spiritual consciousness. That consciousness is not directly taught to the children, but it is something that the teachers themselves carry.
We want the child above all to be free, and if we've exposed them to many possibilities in that area through history, through cultural teachings, then they will grow up to be free to choose a religion if they like, but it's not taught.
I've been with this class now for 8 years, and my work is now completed.
I stayed with the same teacher the whole time. This made it easier for me because Miss Gould got to know me and my capabilities and my way of doing things. And I also got to know Miss Gould and her expectations.
Since the teacher stays with the class throughout the 8 years, they have this very deep relationship that grows together.
The most encompassing rhythm in the Waldorf school is the 8-year rhythm. And that is that when a child comes to school in first grade, they have a feeling that they're going to be with many of the children in their class for 8 years. And they're also going to be with that teacher, ideally. It doesn't always work out that way. But ideally, they'll be with that teacher for 8 years also. And what this does, it's an incredible experience for everyone, parents, teacher, and children, because you grow together and you change together.
3 years ago, there was a conference at the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching in Princeton, New Jersey, that brought together representatives from Waldorf education and from public education to talk about the kind of things that Waldorf education might be doing that could be inspiring to public education. Such things as having a single class teacher that stays with the children through the 8 grades. The possibility for the teacher to really know the child over the course of that period of time, which is very frustrating for some public school teachers, that they find that they're just beginning to get to know the child really when it's time to say goodbye and have another group of children in. So they find that concept very interesting. They also find it very challenging because the depth of commitment on the part of the teacher to really move from year to year into new material and into a new relationship with a growing child instead of being a 3rd grade specialist or a 5th grade specialist, but to really make elementary education the specialty is something that public educators are finding very interesting about Waldorf education. That question of development of the teacher as well as working with the child in their development.
Everything I saw, I asked myself why it worked and why it did it. And so I was really curious about everything.
In the United States and Canada and Mexico, the North American continent, the very first school was the Rudolf Steiner School of New York, which opened in 1928. And it's interesting in the North American story that that was the only school until 1941. And then the high mowing school began. To give you an idea how slow the growth was in North America, it wasn't until 1960 that there were 7 schools. And in 1970, by 1970, there were 11 schools. And by 1980, there were 46. And by 1990, there were 91. And now there are about 125. So when one looks at the growth of the schools in North America, it is a curve that starts out very slowly and is rising very rapidly.
I definitely feel there's a sense of community, and that is extremely important to me. I get an opportunity to participate in my children's education. Instead of driving them to school, dropping them off, and they go to school and I go to work, I get a chance to come and be a part of it.
As a parent, I do feel I have an effect in the school because I am in close communication with the 3 teachers of my 3 children who attended school today.
So the parents are really very much involved here, and it's a very rewarding type of involvement. You're working together with other parents who you've developed long-term relationships with, and you know that you're doing it for a really wonderful cause for the children.
One of the reasons why the schools have prospered once they're started is that there's a very strong partnership that develops between the parents and the school. It is not a situation where one drops one's children off and then picks them up at the end of the day and trusts that everything has gone the way that it was supposed to or the way that the curriculum has outlined it and so on. Waldorf schools are very participatory schools, and parents look for that. They want that. They want to know what's happening with their children. They want to know how they can help. They like to be able to be actively involved, really involved in the life of the school in every way, from serving on a board of trustees as a director of the school to coming on Saturday to work in the yard and help spruce up the school and clean the campus, to decorating classrooms for assemblies and festivals. It's a very participatory education. And the faculty members also go out of their way to help the parents to really understand what it is that they're trying to do for the children. And so it becomes a partnership between the teacher and the parents on behalf of the child. And that's something that in our time has become harder and harder to find. And when people find it, they want to participate in it very much. So that, I think, is one of the key things that has contributed to the success of the schools.
We have 3 major fundraising events throughout the year. The biggest event is the spring auction, and it brings in almost half of our fundraising income.
How about 50? I'll take a 50 bid now, 50, thank you. 50 bid now, 60. I have a 50 bid now, 61, 60, 60 would have been 60, 60 over here now, 70, 60 bid now, 71, 70 would have been 70.
The Christmas fair is another one of our functions, and the fund run, where the kids run for pledges, is our 3rd major event.
We don't have principals in the Waldorf schools. We're really trying to work out of a community focus rather than an individual focus. I often like to say that the function of the faculty in the school is to provide the pedagogical leadership for the community, and the function of the board is to provide for community development. And community development really means trying to find the ways for all of the adults and youngsters in the community to come to a very harmonious working to support the life of the school and to support each other in their own personal strivings and community work.
Afoot and lighthearted, I take to the open road. Healthy, free, the world before me. The long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. Henceforth I ask not good fortune. I myself am good fortune. Henceforth I whimper no more, postpone no more, need nothing. Strong and content I travel the open road.
My goal, when I see my children leave the school, is for them to go forward in the world with a smile and the word yes in their eyes. Yes, they can do whatever they want to do, however they need to do it. That confidence is what I'm trying to instill in them as a Waldorf teacher.
I believe that children need to be excited about learning. They need to know that along with information and knowledge comes responsibility. And I think that creative energy, this bubbling up of excitement about whatever they're doing, and then the freedom to choose what that is that they want to pursue. And if the education can provide that, then it's been successful.
There goes Robin, there goes Caroline.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Oh, look at him swim around.
One sees it often, this phrase that Rudolf Steiner wrote, it's often is in the brochures and the literature for the schools, that to receive the child in reverence, to educate him in love, and to send him forth in freedom are the goals of Waldorf education. And what that really means is to view the school and the teachers and the curriculum and the pedagogy as enabling the child to find his or her way. to help to unfold the capacities that the child has so that they can then put them to use in their adult life. And I would have to say that that really is the primary goal of Waldorf education, to give the young person the confidence and the self-assuredness to be able to tackle anything that they want to tackle later on in life. The youngsters that have gone through Waldorf education do come away with a sense of knowing what their history has been. Through the curriculum, through the work in the classrooms, the whole recapitulation of human experience has been put there for them. And they do have very strong sense of self and of purpose in the world.
What I've found is that both of my boys have benefited tremendously from the Waldorf system. I have one son who is 16 years old now, and he's at the public high school, and he's doing very well. Not only is he able to of course, memorize if he needs to, he's able to process information, enjoy information, go the next step beyond the homework, and I feel like he's really been well prepared.
The students feel in their high school that they have such a breadth of experience and that they know something about almost everything, because the elementary school curriculum is so broad and varied that they find it very easy to adjust to the public high school. The other experience is that when the high school graduates return from their first year or two in college, and many of them do go on to college, it's not uncommon for schools to say in their literature that over 95 or 96% of their 12th grade graduates do go on to college. When those youngsters return to the schools, they often tell us that they find that their first year in college is less demanding than their last 2 years in the Waldorf high school.
Well, in my college science classes, I have had the pleasure of having 5 or 6 Waldorf graduates that have attended the biology program and taken a variety of science courses with me. And I find that they do quite well in the program. I think what I'm impressed about most with the Waldorf students is that they have the ability to think and to work on their own. I find that many other students that come to the college can pass exams and learn to memorize material. But I've found with the Waldorf students is that they have a real understanding of the information, and they work with it, and they think about it, and they process it in a creative way so it's meaningful to them, so that they don't memorize the information. They actually learn it. It becomes part of who they are. And I think this is one of the reasons why they're so successful, not only here, but as they go on to other colleges and eventually their careers.
Now here are some things that we've discovered about the growth of the brain. Now along this line there's one final little part on this, and this is where I made the discovery that the great genius Rudolf Steiner, who set up the Waldorf schools, understood this and organized a whole educational system to develop this properly. And it's awesome to think that he did this even before Maria Montessori, a brilliant, brilliant medical doctor, made her discoveries about the developmental stages. And I think 4 grandchildren in all in Waldorf school and a daughter in Waldorf school. So it's a real pet of mine. I think Rudolf Steiner is one of the great geniuses of the century. It took me a long time to discover that. And support your Waldorf system. Look into what Steiner did. It's a very beautiful thing. And children love Waldorf schools. They cry on holidays when they can't go. That's really true. Thanks very much.